Bride for a Dead Man. A king and his queen had no children, though they were getting on in the years. Half of their life was already over, so the king decided that he would pray to get an heir for his kingdom. He began his penances by standing in the middle of a tank on a 12-yard stone with another such stone on his head. He stood there like that for 12 whole years and prayed to Siva. Siva said, I am burdened by this man's devotion. His 12 years weigh on me. The stone on his head weighs on me. So I'll go down and give him the child that he wants. He came down from Kailasa, his mountain, to where the king stood steadfastly in the water. Come out of the tank, Siva said, and I'll give you a child. I'll come out only when you grant me the boon, not till then. All right, I give you my word, said Siva, but I'll not give you the boon here. I'll come to your house and grant your wish. And he promised to visit the king, and sealed this promise by putting his hand on the king's head. Go home now, and I'll come tomorrow, Siva said. And the king, in his penance, came out of the water and went home to tell his wife. Siva has given me his word. He will come here tomorrow and give us children, wash and wipe the whole place, bathe and offer worship. You must be ready tomorrow morning. Also, get 5 udadi fruit. But his wife wouldn't believe him. He insisted, no, it's true. Siva will come here tomorrow himself. You'll see. Next morning came very fast, and Siva did descend from the sky. As he walked toward the palace, he looked at himself. Alms bag on his shoulder, a cane in his fist, a trident slung on his back. How can I go into the world looking like this, he thought, and change into a holy man, and went begging from shop to shop before he reached the palace. The shopkeepers were devout, and gave the holy man diamonds and pearls as gifts, but he wouldn't touch them. He said, What shall I do with these stones? If you wish, give me the fat of a flea and the fat of a bedbug. I'd like that. Where shall we go looking for the fat of fleas and bedbugs? The bewildered shopkeepers asked. Meanwhile, Siva was dancing, leaping into the sky. He swayed like a peacock, but he would take nothing and ask for only the fat of fleas and bedbugs, which they couldn't get. So he went hopping through the market all the way to the palace. The king and queen were waiting. They washed his feet and fell at his feet. He gave the queen 2 betel nuts from his waistband and said, This is for you. I know you want a child. What would you like? A smart son who will live only 12 years, or an idiot who will live to be 100? She said, What shall I do with an idiot son? He has to rule a kingdom. Give me a smart son for 12 years. Think well. He'll live only for 12 years and not a day longer. Once you've chosen, nothing can change it later. Think again. I know what I want, she said. A smart son. Give him to me. I can wait. I can't wait. So Siva granted her a smart son who would live for only 12 years. The queen's period stopped, her pregnancy made her fuller by the day, and exactly 9 months and 9 days later, she gave birth to a boy. Siva had decreed that a tiger would bring him to his death on his 12th birthday. The astrologers who could read such things also said so, and had warned his parents. As a growing boy, he went out to play ball in town. The girls who were going to the river to fetch water said, You are the king's son. What's the matter with you, playing ball with the ordinary town boys? As a prince of the kingdom, you've got to be the forest and hunt lions and tigers and such. Then you'll be a real prince. So he went straight home, threw the ball away, and said to his mother, Why didn't anybody tell me what princes do? I'm going to hunt lions and tigers in the forest. His mother was panic-stricken. She remembered the prophecy, My boy, you're only 12. Don't think of hunting wild animals. Do you have playmates? We'll find you some. But he was obstinate and wouldn't listen. He called for the servants, the stable boys, and prepared himself for a hunt. The mother said, At least wait until I look at the omens. She went out to look for good omens, but all she saw were oil sellers, people carrying pickaxes and spades. Bad omens. She came home and tried to stop the boy. I see only bad omens everywhere. Don't go, my son. You can go tomorrow, she pleaded. She wept. She even fell at his feet and held on to him, but he wouldn't hear any of it. He had already taken a step outside the threshold. See, mother, I've already stepped outside. No real prince will take a step back and retreat inside. By your blessings, I'll come home safely. You'll see, he said, touched her feet, and left for the forest, this 12-year-old boy. His mother's brother, his uncle, followed and joined him in the hunt. The hunt was a fierce success. They brought down many tigers, lions, and griffins, stood proudly on their carcasses, and loaded them in a cart after cart to send home. When the distraught mother saw these carts coming to the palace yard, filled with wild animals ripped apart by her son's arrows, her heart revived. The cartman said, The prince has sent all these that your highness may see and stop worrying about him. More are coming." "Oh, Siva," she said, relieved and happy, "that's truly my son. He has killed so many tigers and lions in one hunt, his very first. They say a tiger would kill him. They were even afraid of a tiger in a picture and removed all tiger pictures from the palace. How ridiculous." While she was exclaiming like this ecstatically, the prince had finished the hunt and was returning home. On the way, it occurred to him to stop at their family's god's temple and offer worship after his first adventure. As soon as he spoke of this plan, his uncle hurried before him. There were many pictures of tigers on the temple walls, and he knew that he could never stop his rash nephew from doing anything that he wanted. So, he spattered the pictures with mud and asked the servants to hold curtains on either side of the prince as he entered the temple. "Don't look around dilly-dally. Go straight to the god's image, bow before it, and let's go home. It's late," said the uncle. But did he listen? He prostrated himself before the god, and as he turned back, he saw the curtains. Impatiently, he tore them down, saying, "What's all this curtain holding? Are you afraid I'll die? I've killed 7 tigers today, remember?" As he tore down the curtains, he saw tigers. Tigers all around. They opened their mouths wide and rose from the pictures on the walls. When he saw their red tongues coming for him, he became dizzy, fell into a swoon, and died on the spot. His uncle cried and cried all the way home as he brought the body home. "Oh, Siva, I brought him safely till this point and yet couldn't save him. My sister bore him in her old age after so much trouble, and now he's dead. What shall I do?" Mother heard it and ran out weeping. "Oh, Siva, you still took him as you said you would. After killing real tigers, he was killed by a tiger in a picture, just as they said. I want to see him married. Even now I will. We will not bury him till we find a bride for him," she said in her grief. And even as they were preparing the fire in the chariot and the last procession of the dead body, she sent a cartload of gold hitched to a camel with messengers. They had to find a bride, whatever the price. The cartload went from the street to street and from town to neighboring town, loudly announcing the search for a bride for a dead prince. Messengers finally met with a Brahmin who had a 12-year-old daughter named Cheneva. The poverty of the family was harsh beyond words. They said to the poor man, "Give us your daughter. We'll unload the gold here." He agreed and gave them his daughter. At once her mother began to weep. She brought out a little oil in a cup, some turmeric, took her daughter in and gave her the ritual oil bath, crying all the while, "Oh, daughter, widowhood is not for you. How can it be? You're only 12 years old." Then she dressed her up in fresh clothes, put auspicious marks of turmeric and vermilion on her forehead, and blessed her, saying, May you be like Savitri. May you keep your husband." And she sent her with the royal messengers. Galloping, they took her to the palace, where she was married in proper ceremony to the dead boy. As in any wedding, they put auspicious marks of turmeric and vermilion on the bride's face, threw grains of rice, and tied the wedding thread around her neck. When it was time to lift the dead body and take it home, they wanted her to stay behind, but she refused to stay behind. Firmly said, "I'm going with my husband. Bury me with him. What's the point of living without him?" So she sat next to the body, and it was carried with it. They reached the burial grounds. A great rainstorm descended on them, and it seemed as if more water fell to the earth than it could hold. Everyone ran and found shelter. From the wind and the rain, the dead body was left alone, and Chenava held on to it. The night was dark, and the place was a dismal burial ground, and she was alone with the body. "What shall I do? This is my lot," she said. She had sweated, and her body was caked with mud. She sat down and scraped it, added more mud to it, then molded the image of Siva's bull with it. She installed it in the front of her, sang songs, and worshipped the image with flowers she picked off the dead body. As she sang and worshipped, the mud of the image of the bull was filled with life. He got up, snorted, and walked about. He said, "Chenava, your devotion is great. I'd like to do something for you." And he went to the heaven and pleaded with Siva, "Lord, you must give back Chenava's husband his life. You must give back her marriage to her. You must." "Dear bull," said Siva, "you're quite taken with that Chenava, aren't you? We can't give back life like that. Wait, let's send her a tiger and see what she does." So he sent a tiger to Chenava. She at once stood with her back to her husband's bear and stretched out both of her hands, prayed to the tiger, "Don't eat him, eat me," which pleased the tiger too. He said, "We'll send you Siva himself. You're too good for us." The tiger went to Siva and pleaded, "Oh, Siva, you must get back Chenava's husband." Then he sent lions, griffins, he even sent she-demons, but she wasn't afraid of any of them. She guarded her husband's body and offered her own. When they all came back pleading her cause, Siva decided he would go down for himself and see what she was like. He picked up his alms bag and his cane and stood before her, asking for alms. "What can I give this beggar sitting here in the burial ground?" she thought. Then she took down the only precious thing she had on her, her wedding thread with its golden pendant, tali, and put it in his alms bag. "What's this?" You've given me your wedding tally? Don't you have anything else to give? Said Siva, astonished. She said, No, sir, that's all I have. What else can I have sitting here in the burial ground? Siva was touched. He tied the tali back on her neck, breathed life into her husband's body, and went back to heaven. The young prince woke up as if from a long sleep. The happy couple talked all night till it dawned silver in the morning. They had much to talk about. The people from the palace were worried all night about the body and the 12-year-old girl they had left in the rainstorm. They came running as soon as the storm passed and it was light. They found the two of them talking, and when they heard what had happened, they marveled at Chinava, the power of her virtue, and how she had brought a dead man to life. His parents summoned there by then, placed a coconut in the grave that had been dug and closed it up. The bride and bridegroom were carried back in palanquins to the palace, and a whole new wedding was arranged. When the time came for the bride to give the ritual offerings of bagina to her relative, Chinava said, No one took my bagina earlier. I'm not going to give it to anyone now. I'll give it to the river goddess, Gagnis, and took it to the river. When the wedding took place the first time, no one had received her or her bridal gifts as they should have. Everyone in the town had shut their doors on her. Why would she give it now to anyone? I married a dead man, and no one thought of me then. Now I'm married to a live one. I'll give bagina to the goddess and take gifts from her, she said, and offered them to the river goddess. Then she came back, completed the wedding ceremony, and lived happily with her husband and her in-laws.